Hi, guys, and welcome to the Horror Room. So, this week I decided to give you another little mini movie review. And before we talk about, we're going to talk about something very terrifying, something that many of you are familiar with, and that is Twitter. Uh, yeah, Twitter can be a pretty awful place where people just go and dump their shitty opinions onto other people. Um, but sometimes people dump creative things on there, like ARGs or little interactive things that you can follow along with. Um, Now, if you're familiar with like creepypastas and stuff like that, sometimes people do things in a similar vein. Um, One of them, I can't remember the exact name, but it's something like "the sun is gone" or "the sun vanished." I think it's "the sun vanished." That's an example of one of those like creative things like that. And today's movie is another example of something like that. Getting turned into a movie, and that's Dear David, which is, I think it started in 2017. Now, I'm going to be honest, I didn't follow it originally when the author was posting. The author's name is Adam Ellis. Um, but he was doing this, every so often and building it up. He'd do pictures, a little bit of videos. So it's kind of a fun, interactive experience for the audience. And, before this, the guy, I think, made like internet comics. I've seen his work, it's all right. Um, but, this was something different. So it was kind of creative, kind of cool. And I remember one night I found this and I was like, oh, what is Dear David? And I saw the drawing that he did of the kid with like the lumpy head, and I was like, oh, this is weird. Um, so I was like, sure, I'll sit up and read this. And needless to say, I spent the entire night reading this thing, and I was like under my blankets, reading this, and like, oh my gosh, this is so weird and creepy. And then the pictures of David himself. Um, it's still interesting, like how he did that. Like I don't know, and I don't want to know because I think it would spoil it. Um, but they're just low quality enough to come off as like, oh, that looks like a real dead kid in his room, like above his bed. It was freaky. Um, Now, needless to say, honestly, the thread didn't really go anywhere aside from the creepy pictures, and it just kind of ended. Maybe he ran out of ideas. Maybe he just wanted to end it and move on to a new project. Um, so there was that. Um, but it ended up getting picked up for a movie, and I was thinking, I was like, oh, that's really cool. That'll be a fun idea. And then I just kind of forgot about it until recently. And I was like, oh, yeah, I remember Dear David was a pretty cool thing I read. I was like, I wonder if the movie ever got made. And it did. It came out in 2023. So I'm a little late watching it. And there's probably, people have discussed it when it came out. But I'm here to, tell you guys about it in case you haven't heard about it and give you the details about this movie. I am going to be going into spoilers, so if you want to watch Dear David, go ahead. I can't say I recommend it, honestly. You're better off going and finding the original Twitter thread, or there's probably a compilation somebody's done, and you can look through those posts. I think that's the more interesting route. But if you want to watch the movie in an hour and a half, whatever, I guess. Uh, it's like watching a Slender Man movie, I guess. But anyways, so in the movie, uh, Adam Ellis, he's the character in this movie. I mean, they hired somebody to play him, and he's not playing himself. Because I did look that up. I was like curious. I was like, oh, did he get to play in the movie? But no, he sold the rights, and they probably consulted him for some of the ideas, but I'm pretty sure they came up with some of their own, which we'll talk about. Um, so Adam Ellis works for BuzzFeed, which is like one of those crappy internet sites where they do top 10 lists. Um, and they do reference that. There's like a joke where one of the other editors, she's always making these really cool lists. And he makes his little web comics and stuff, and they're so relatable. Um, and the movie's kind of normal. Then he starts getting contacted by Dear David, which you have to ask. No, you don't want to ask Dear David three questions, but of course it's like Candyman. People can't help themselves. Um, so all these strange things start happening. His cats are like staring at the door. He's having these night terrors or like sleep paralysis moments Which, by the way, some of the worstly acted panicked scenes I've seen on screen. This guy's like laying in his bed like it's so over the top. Like if it was a little more subdued or like creepy, and they show David way too early. Like they kind of vaguely put him in a little bit of like a shadow and like a little out of focus, but it's like, oh, you don't want to show David that early. Like that was what was creepy about the original posts. Like you didn't know if this was real or not, and you saw some pictures, but they weren't like super clear. Um, and you get this kind of backstory about Dear David himself, that he was like this kid that would sit alone in his basement on his computer on chat rooms. This 9-year-old kid on a chat room. It's like it's so ridiculous. Um, and this kid's just getting bullied. Like people are like, "Oh, you're so dumb. You're so ugly." Haha. It's like we get it. Bullying is not good. Whatever. Um, so yeah. So this David kid is now this Dear David ghost, and he starts haunting Alan or Adam. I'm sorry, whatever. Um, and his friends think he's crazy, and his boyfriend thinks he's crazy, and he's like, "I'm not crazy." Um, and then all of a sudden, his job starts taking it seriously. Like, oh my gosh, this is a great thing you're doing. It's a cool story. And his boss is played by Justin Long. Now, many of you are probably like, oh, Justin Long, that name sounds familiar. He is in Barbarian. He's in the original Jeepers Creepers movie. Um, Justin Long to me is this day and age is Dick Clark. Is it? No, that's the wrong one. What's his name? Oh, I had it earlier. Um, anyways, the old guy from Gremlins. Like, if you see him in a movie, you're like, oh, it's that old guy from these movies, and he's in them all the time. That's what Justin Long is. Dick Miller, not Dick Clark. Dick Clark's like somebody completely different. But yeah, Dick Miller was like the old, like he was in Gremlins. He's in like pretty sure he's in Chopping Mall. He's in like a ton of movies. And anytime you see him, you go, oh, that's that one guy. If you don't know, it's Dick Miller. So yeah, I think Justin Long is this era's new Dick Miller because every time you see him, like, oh yeah, there's that one guy. Because I mean, Justin Long's like not a gigantic actor. I think the biggest movie that I remember being kind of a big deal at the time was Waiting with Ryan Reynolds. Not to say Justin Long's a bad actor or anything, and it's kind of fun seeing him pop up in random horror movies. I think he's actually in this new movie coming out called Coyotes, which looks kind of dumb. I don't know. It's just a silly concept. But anyways, like he's like encouraging him. He's like, "Yeah, let's keep this story going." And the guy's like, it's not a story. It's really happening." And his friend at work is like, "Oh, we'll go, we'll go, you know, do a poll like the polls that I do, except it's like, oh, let's ask my audience what I should do. Do a Ouija board, get a exorcist, or, uh, do it ourselves." So they're going around, and she's like flinging salt everywhere, and like it's like a big joke. Um, but then more creepy stuff starts happening. He has a dream where David is like above him holding like his typewriter, and he's like gonna kill him. It's silly. Um, and then obviously he starts lashing out at his friends, even though it's not him. It's his phone. It's glitching. It's haunted. Uh, David sends a text to his friend that says, "You're jealous of my success," and she's like, "Fuck you." He's like, "I didn't write it." Um, then one of the funniest things is his boyfriend breaks up with him, and then like he's like, "Oh well, we need to talk about things, and I'll help you out." And then like his boyfriend's like, "You haven't been on Grinder, have you?" He's like, "No, I deleted that," and he like it's on his phone in his profile. And he's like, "I didn't do that. I swear I deleted Grinder." So it's like this ghost is re-downloading apps to his phone to like get his relationship in trouble, which that was probably the only part of the movie that I really did enjoy. Aside from this other scene, which we're about to talk about. So, all these people, his friends, his ex, they're like, oh. And then he goes to work, and the one person who's good with the top 10 list, she's like, hey, come check this new list I got out. and he reads it, and it says, top 10 ways to unalive yourself at work. And he's like, what the fuck? And he's like going around the office, like, throwing other people who have nothing to do with this, all their hard work in their computers. He's like pushing them off of tables. What the fuck? Oh my god! He's freaking out. And then Justin Long comes out and he's like, What's going on here? He's like, doesn't even care that this guy's like wrecking the office. And he's like, look at what she did. And he points to the screen and it says, top 10 ways to love yourself at work or something like that. And it's like, oh my gosh. So it's that stereotype. Well, I'm not crazy. It said that. And Justin Long's like, go take some time off work. Not fire him, like a normal boss would. Yeah, yeah. You got this cool ghost thing. It's not ruining anyone's lives or making you go crazy. So yeah, take a week off. Um, so that scene was pretty funny too, just because it was so absurd. Um, but then eventually he's like, I gotta take care of this David. Um, and I think he looks up some info about the kid because he finds out like, oh, this kid was in a coma because his mom hit him over the head with his computer monitor when he was younger. Like, I guess he killed his dad or something. I don't. It was really weird. Like, you didn't need the explanation of how he got the dent in his head, but they had it in there. Um, so finally, he's like, I'm gonna have to take care of David myself, and I don't. I'm not gonna lie. By this point in the movie, there was like 10, 15 minutes left. I was drifting in and out of sleep because it was so boring. Um, but I do know David ends up in the real world. He's like, I guess, summoned or because of the three questions. Um, so it's like, oh, it's like Nightmare on Elm Street. David's in reality now. It's gonna be super scary. And then Adam just beats him over the head again with like a typewriter or something. Oh, but before all that happens, David is like possessing him to like cover himself in gas and open his oven and grab a lighter, like he's gonna set himself on fire. It's so ridiculous, and like his friend and his boyfriend are like, "Oh my god, the apartment's on fire." Um, and they call the ambulances and then the all that shit, the fire department, and he kills David. He escapes, and they get the cats out, and they're like, "Oh, we got the cats. The cats are safe." So then they're sitting there, and like, and then it shows the last Twitter thing that he put. He's like, "I'm fine. Everything's okay," and that's actually how it ended in the real tweets. So very anticlimactic, um, and they kind of want you to believe like, "Oh, dear David possessed him." Oh, but then there's a final scene which is also pretty funny, where a YouTuber or a podcast channel, she's like covering the events, and she's like, "Oh look, somebody joined the chat named Dear David," and she's like, "Why are you so fucking ugly?" And he's just like, "That's one." And she's like, "Are you for real? That's two questions." It's so goofy. And then like she asks the three questions, then she starts banging her head on her desk and like screaming, and the audience is like, "This is so fake. Can't believe she would stoop this low." It's like it's sad to see something as cool and creative as this get turned into that. And I'm sure the guy got paid pretty well for pitching them like, here, you can take my idea and turn it into a movie. Maybe he had creative control with it, maybe he didn't. But I feel like he didn't, or he just didn't care because he got the money. Because if I was him and I saw that finished product, I'd be like, whoa, 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 this is bad. Um, but who knows? Maybe he had all the input and he's like, yeah, let's make him joke about Grinder. Let's do the podcaster smashing her head in. Like, I don't know. It's harmless as far as a modern horror movie goes, but it definitely left a lot to be desired. And I mean, there's a bunch of movies that are kind of similar in this vein. Ooh, creepy ghost haunting Twitter, little kid in my apartment ghost. I don't know. There's better options out there. But the original, the tweet thread, pretty cool. It's got some creepy moments. You know, sometimes it's just text. Sometimes there's pictures, videos. But I love when they do the pictures because, like I said, they're a lot more creepy than whatever the hell they tried to do in this movie with the ghost kid. But I just had to share that because I was like, hey, I remember Dear David, and I'm sure a lot of you, if you've read it, you're like, oh, I forgot there was a movie. Proceed with caution. That's all I can say is, if you really want to watch it, go for it. But, there's better movies about like kids haunting things like The Ring. Um, yeah, so there you have it. There's the Dear David review that nobody asked for, but I gave you. You're welcome. I am going to be doing more movie reviews, I've decided. I am going to be doing some more remakes versus original type things. I'm not going to call it that, but we're going to discuss remakes and originals. I have some in mind that I'm not going to tell yet. Um, but I'm going to plan on doing those and kind of writing notes down so I can keep my thoughts in order. I had to do that with this just because I was like, I'm not going to remember the guy's name or that he works at BuzzFeed. Um, so yeah, I got some ideas for some more movie reviews and stuff like that. I'm not going to do a ton of extreme horror movies, but there are some that I've had on my radar. Um, just things that I might be like, okay, nobody's talking about Coffee Table, really, but I might check it out just to see if it's any good. Um, but hey, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you guys next week on the new video.